Okay, we are live. I'm just going to give everybody a few seconds to enter. Okay, I think we are good to go. All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome. Thanks for joining us today. I am Marcella Pelosi, Sales Coordinator here at ERP-One, and I'll be your host for this session. Before we get started, I'd like to share a bit about who we are. ERP-One is a specialized ERP solutions partner with a focus on JD Edwards. Whether it's technical consulting, application support, development, or project management, we've been helping clients navigate their ERP journey for over 20 years. We also provide long-term support options like staff augmentation and managed services, working closely with our clients to drive real results and long-term value from their systems. Today's presentation, From JD Edwards to Oracle Cloud, What's Your Next Move, will be led by Matt Vanderkoy. Matt is ERP-One's Chief Revenue Officer, and he works across sales, marketing, and delivery to ensure everything we do aligns with our mission to support both current and future JDE customers. And we are also very excited to be joined by Darcy Matthias. Darcy is a global enterprise technology and performance portfolio leader at Deloitte. A recognized leader in Oracle Cloud, he's known for bringing together the right people and technology to deliver impactful ERP transformations. And as always, this is being recorded, and we will share the recording with you afterwards. And if you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to drop them in the chat, and we will do our best to address them at the end. And with that, I will hand it over to Matt to get us started. Thanks and enjoy.
Great. Thanks, Marcella. Yeah, Darcy and I are excited to kind of lead this conversation together on this. Just a little bit about what is JD Edwards, what can you start to think about and do, and why should you maybe start to think about a few things in relation to the Oracle Cloud space. So we'll get this kicked off. Darcy and I are going to go back and forth, like Marcella said. Drop a few things in the chat if you want to learn more. We're happy to unpack that as we go. But let's jump in. We've got less than 30 minutes. So we'll cover off today sort of what is JD Edwards. Just a bit of a recap. I don't think it's going to be anything new for our JD Edwards friends here, but a little bit what it is and why it matters. Darcy will start to talk a little bit about how we can begin to think about enhancing JDE with some of the innovation. Back to me for a little bit about how we can start taking steps today to prepare for the future, and then some real life, where can you start to leverage some of these Oracle Cloud services and applications and technology on your JD Edwards instance today. So state of JD Edwards today. Blueprint conference coming up next week. And so there'll be a bunch of excitement that sort of drives a lot of these different things. But the facts are we've got premier support until 2036. And it's a plus. There's always a plus on that. So that's 11 years out. It's a long time. That's been a rolling 10 or 11 year window for the last 10 or 11 years. So that keeps getting pushed out there. I think it's all of our guests would agree it's running really, really core business processes in your organization today: manufacturing, finance, across that whole order to cash or procure to pay. It's really, really core at what you have going on in your organizations. Again, next week, I'm sure the Oracle JD Edwards team will talk a ton about the new features, the new tools that they're releasing. They are continuously investing in the JD Edwards product, and they've put it into these three major buckets: the digital platform, enabling a lot of transformational type activities; the system administration, making sure that it's secure, that the operating costs are coming down through some of the tools that they have there; and where appropriate, dropping new applications in. So over the last number of years, refreshes to lease accounting, some great new features in some of the finance, the sustainability framework that's out there right now. So just some examples of some of the investment that's happening there. I think we also know we're certainly not blind to the fact that switching costs around ERPs and systems are massive, and there better be a payoff on the end of that. That you're really gaining more functionality or ease of use along the way. And I think we can also say that given that JD Edwards is approaching its 50th birthday, that there's probably potential for some more innovation in there, right? And how do we then take all of these things and really move those forward? Because there's innovation, but there's switching costs, and it's old, but it's core. And how do we really think our way through this? And I think that's really what we want to take this time today to start to consider or give you things to consider in that space. So if that's the situation, here's a little bit why it matters. It is almost 50 years old, and you can't rewrite that to take advantage of all of the new tools and functionality, the technology that's out there. Because it's that old, there are some just embedded costs in how you have always had to support legacy ERP systems or legacy products in general. If it's an on-prem product, it takes more to support. Um, and resources are becoming harder and harder to find out there. And that just starts to present this real challenge for organizations along the way. Through all of that, we're still trying to create more and more of this value driver. And so broadly speaking, we've argued that these are three big bucket value drivers that you can look at from an organization. What are you doing from your client perspective? What are you doing operationally, back office? And what are you doing to create new business models? And when it comes to an ERP, we really focus on the operational excellence. And I've used this before. This is really four pillars for how you can think about running your ERP in this mode of operational excellence. The first is operate. This is the just day to day of running your, in this case, JD Edwards system, keeping it patched, keeping it up to date, providing the right level of support for your organization, for users in your organization. And with that as a really good base, we could start to move into the other three areas. We could start to look at automation, process efficiencies, user experience, all of those great things that come alongside of that. We can also start to look at evaluate. I don't think I need to tell any of the guests on our call how much data and the treasure trove of data that you have in your system. What are you doing with that data? Do you have tools to overlay that data and tell a story for you as well? And then where I think we're going to take this conversation today, how do you transform? How do you get things into that new where you're able to take advantage of maybe not necessarily things in the JD Edwards system today, but use the data, the core processes that you have in JD Edwards to start thinking about how to transform different parts of the organization and different tools within the organization along that way. So, Darcy, can you talk to us a little bit about what this might look like from our JD Edwards perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Matt, and really good to have this conversation with you. And like you said at the top, I'm really excited about the partnership we have between ERP-One and Deloitte because we really bring unique strengths to serve our clients, and specifically the clients that are on JDE today, but looking to, like you said, Matt, very well, take advantage of the investments they've made historically and getting additional value out of JDE, but also getting ready for what's next. So innovation is a key aspect of that. And so we have developed a number of different offerings that are really targeted towards those clients that are running JDE and may not be looking at moving on to a different platform such as Fusion right away. So they want to make sure they are still not falling too far behind when it comes to innovation and making sure that while they're not really impacting the core of their back office, which is JDE, and like you said, Matt, a lot of times what we're seeing is that it's working. It's working well. It's closing your month end. It's doing the process as well. And so you don't want to disrupt that, but you want to start getting your team an executive direction as well, maybe to trying to embed innovation into that platform. And so we've seen this happen in a few different areas. And the first one really is about looking at the underlying infrastructure stack. So are you running JDE on OCI, for instance? There could be an opportunity there where potentially you have a legacy infrastructure in a data center that could be coming end of life. And instead of investing in more hardware, you could look at an OCI option potentially. What's great about that is you get access to hyperscaler that is fully supportive of the JD. Obviously, you're still working with the same vendor, but OCI brings along with it additional components that we're seeing our JDE clients who have made the move to OCI take advantage of. And the other area would be just within that, looking at different ways to look at your overall process within JDE. If you go to the next slide, maybe I'll jump into that specifically. But on OCI, this is a complicated slide, but as you think about innovation and how innovation can be used to help people that are running JDE for their core back office, just piling on to that comment about OCI, it does come with a number of the components needed to start a GenAI journey, for instance. And this slide really provides a lot of detail around it. But what we're seeing is a lot of traction globally with respect to the innovation and the development of specific GenAI solutions that run on OCI and consume data from JD Edwards. And so those are live, those are real, those are in production now for a number of clients globally, and that allows a bit about best of both worlds. You get to maintain the core, you get to keep your business running on how it's been configured and designed, and it gives you that opportunity to start embedding that innovation. And there have been a number of use cases that have been more popular than others as we looked at developing and rolling this out. And we'll talk about that in a second. But the real purpose of this slide here is to say that with respect to everything happening with GenAI, all the advancements that you've probably heard about, the changes in the pricing of GenAI, Oracle is in a very, very good position. And with respect to being really the only vendor that can do it all. They have legacy apps like JDE. They have the Fusion app layer. They have the Cerner acquisition, which is being rebranded Oracle Health. Then they are the only vendor that can own the full stack, right down to Alloy or Bare Metal at the very bottom, or Sovereign Cloud. So the whole stack is something that really differentiates Oracle. And what we're doing is working directly with Matt and his team, and also with Oracle, to use the power of the platform to drive the innovation within the JDE install base. And like I said, we're having some success with that already with a number of our clients globally. And if you flip to the next slide, I will talk about some of those use cases. And so Matt kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but I'm going to pick on really the middle one. And I wanted to provide some props for the large language model provider that we tend to work with most of the time. It's Cohere. They're a Canadian AI company based out of Toronto. And they're a really good LLM to work with for enterprise data. And so a lot of the JDE GenAI build we've done, it's been with Cohere. Now, if you look at Oracle's strategy and what's available in OCI, they've really focused on two vendors for the large language models. The one model group is the Cohere one, which again, we've had a lot of experience with. And the second one is Meta, the Llama model. So those are really the two that Oracle's focused on. Again, the strategy for Oracle is to start off with Cohere for all the embedded Fusion components of GenAI, but provide the option for both to be used. And so if you look at what we're doing from a large language model component and the development of pulling in the data from JD Edwards into a Cohere to support a GenAI workflow, that's where we've seen a lot of traction. Now, what's where we are in the journey is there's still a lot of proof of concepts happening out there. And so there's still a lot of investigation, a lot of labs, a lot of business cases being developed to look at how can we build different use cases to use JDE data for the benefit of the business processes. So there's still some great examples, like I mentioned, but there's still a lot more that are coming out. Matt mentioned a JDE conference coming up, Cloud World in the fall. You're going to see more and more of these custom build solutions. Also within the Oracle Fusion app, if you're on a journey to Fusion, just know that the Fusion story is getting stronger by the day with respect to the embedded GenAI features, but also the AI Studio that's been released. We're seeing a lot of benefit there. And so if you look at the overall innovation use cases, one of the key things that we're finding as we help our clients on their journey is it does need to be deliberate. you need to be focused on it. It's good to have a use case or a business process that can drive incremental benefit for your business, but just having that allows you to think about things like data privacy, security, data structure, any internal policies you have to have set up to handle Gen AI. There is definitely a lot of information. It's probably too much information out there around Gen AI, and it does cause a bit of confusion, I would say. So I think the best way to cut through the confusion is to make it real. And so as you get through a real journey and a real process around a use case, you realize what's true and what's not as you work through it. But it does prompt some of the focus around building it out. And lastly, before I hand it back to Matt, I will call it the one on the right. So the month, everybody's got month end. Everybody's got a month end process, and everybody has different levels of challenges with month end. And so if you think about where we've had a lot of interest and a lot of traction with respect to our JDE client base with ERP-One and Matt's team, it's been here. And this is where we see a lot of clients saying there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way to not just run the month end process maybe faster, but actually do it better with more accurate data. So that's where a lot of the work has been done. And using the large language models in Gen AI, we found ways in which we can actually help that process be more and more effective. The last thing you want to do is run through a long month-end process, then you got to make adjustments because you missed something or there was data that was missed or not calculated in. This is trying to fix that process to make it more efficient for our JDE clients. Matt, back to you. But I wanted to just highlight that just because you're on JDE, because you're in that environment, doesn't mean you can take advantage of innovation. In fact, you have more avenues available to you to really embed innovation into your model.
Awesome. Thanks, Darcy. So when we think about that, so we've now sort of talked about that big Oracle tech stack slide. We've talked about a couple of examples that are very real for JD Edwards. What are some of the things that you can start to think about, like Darcy mentioned, get maybe on an executive roadmap, directionally, where can we start to take this? And borrowing these right off of the Oracle roadmap and some of the conversations that the Oracle and the JD Edwards team have, I didn't feel like we needed to reinvent this. This is all things that they talk about, and I think it's about. This is a good one. We like this one because it really starts to talk about the plan or that roadmap, like we say. So modernize your platform, like Darcy said. If you're coming up for renewal on the hardware side, your own data center, maybe this is the chance to really look at that Oracle Cloud infrastructure, the OCI layer here, and lots and lots of benefits, total cost of ownership, access to new features by making that shift. So there's one step that we can take. Then the next step up, I think this is a really important piece for a JD Edwards customer. When we look at some of the things that they've provided as examples, we've also seen this in real life, and we're seeing a lot of conversation around a hybrid. Hey, I'm not ready to move financials off of JD Edwards. That's a big lift. Not sure the benefit I'm going to get, but boy, wouldn't it be great if I could do better consolidations, better planning, better forecasting, and have some AI embedded right into that tool? Well, hey, Cloud EPM, it's there, right? And we can hook up JDE data to Cloud EPM. Now you can start taking advantage of all of that stuff. I haven't found too many customers that are jumping up and down, and the Oracle people might not like me for this, that love the JD Edwards HR and payroll functionality. Well, hey, again, lots of proof points around the Cloud HCM product. Great product, very focused on hiring, talent, HR, benefits, payroll, all of that, and then connected back to JD Edwards from a financial perspective. So lots of different ways to start to explore a bit of the hybrid cloud idea when it comes to this. And then I think as you start to keep going down that journey, more ideas around procurement, right? The whole procure to pay process, record to report, right? That maybe a bit more of a pure ERP functionality there. And now we start to get into more of the richer cloud apps, the Fusion apps that sit sort of at that optimize the process perspective. And then finally, that gets us all the way to that full transform, where your processes are adopted and functionality is really embedded from the new cloud apps. And I think I like this from a JDE customer perspective. It allows you to take it in bite-sized chunks, right? Going to cloud, going to Fusion apps probably feels like trying to eat an elephant all in one step. We're not suggesting that here. And I think this paints a picture of how you can get there really deliberately and take advantage of some of the cloud features, functionality, without a full toss JD Edwards in the bin and we're going over here right now because we understand that that's a big deal. Okay. And so even along this journey, which is multi-year, that you would undertake something like this, starting to think about this idea of a digital mindset and its continuous adoption, right? Oracle has put this in, the JD Edwards had put this in from the 9.2 code line. They're continuously evolving on that. And the last webinar we did a few weeks ago really focused on continuous delivery. And how do you, as an organization, get ready to take advantage of some of those features just from a JDE perspective, right? Looking at how do we always strive for providing more and more value? You pay that maintenance dollar. How do you take advantage of the functionality that's out there? And looking to minimize some of that technical debt. Okay. That's going to keep setting yourself up for taking advantage of some of those things on the last slide that we just touched on. Along the way, thinking about user experience. Um, Younger workforce, they're going to want different look and feel. You're going to get pressure to maximize the productivity. And along the way, if you can reduce the customization needs, that's going to minimize that technical debt. Again, make sure all of these things become easier and easier to do over time. And then really looking at business processes, embedding automation into it, industry best practices. That's where we could start to really start leaning into some of this data and automation that we can put in there, all driven through better business insights, automate routine tasks, get some personalized recommendations, which that's sort of doubling back on some of the things Darcy was saying in terms of the LLM and the, certainly the month end process. How do we just make all of that better, more efficient along the way? And working the ERP-One group with the Deloitte group, we built a bit of a roadmap to help you get there. And I'll throw this back to Darcy to say, what are the things that we can unpack this slide a little bit? What are some of the things that we can do to, not the Oracle slide, but that we can help you with here?
Yeah, that's right, Matt. So I think one of the things I've liked about our joint client conversations over the past couple of years, as we look at, like you said, really finding ways to using innovation serve the JDE install base, and I think what's important is looking at where you are today, how you're using JDE today, but knowing that you have a roadmap, you have a journey that you're either actively on or will need to embark on. So what can you do, like I said, to look at getting more value innovation out of your current platform, but also look at the customizations. Matt had it on the previous slide. JDE, for the most part, is very customizable. It's very flexible. It can do whatever you want to do, essentially, and that's why everyone loves it so much. And it's actually a large change exercise to move off eventually. It's JDE onto some other platform like Fusion. And so, knowing that you have a North Star, you have a roadmap, you have a journey of where you're going to go, is looking at what can be done today. Exactly what Matt said, in small pieces to start embedding innovation. Being flat-footed, doing nothing is obviously not what anybody's doing, and it's not a great answer. But one of the areas on top of innovation is around doubling down on processes. Looking at, and this is where I think ERP-One and Deloitte come together very well. We have a tax practice. We have an audit practice. We have a risk assurance practice. We have different areas. We have a shred practice. We can look at CapEx versus OpEx and what's applicable with the ever-changing tax landscape that we have in Canada and globally. And so what we do is we just do a double click onto the processes, and they may have been configured and customized years ago for very good reasons. Maybe your business has evolved. Maybe the regulations have evolved. And maybe now we know what your next stage will be in your roadmap. So we just take a look at that and see if there are ways in which we can simplify. This is all about simplification. You can't make JDE vanilla, but you can maybe take a step getting rid of some customizations, like Matt said previously, that still provide the business value, the compliance, where there's regulatory pressures, or driving business value for your specific stakeholders. But the most important thing I want to mention is that step to what's next becomes smaller and more achievable, not just from a technology perspective, but from a change and data perspective as well. So starting to think about not just keeping the lights on, which is important, and you have a business to run, but also starting to be strategic about it and looking at ways in which you can drive that innovation to drive more business value, but also getting ready for what's next. Determining what's next, Matt did a great job talking about hybrid architectures. We're seeing a lot of hybrid architectures. You don't have to pick one vendor or one ERP module and go across. You can have mixtures and just start that move. One of the great things as well that we've been looking at is making sure that there's a business case behind this. So as you look at a roadmap, as you look at different components to take on, we actually have a tool, right, Matt, that we've developed that allows our clients to say, where is the best use of my investment to drive that value? But there's a lot of different options. We're not going to get through all of them here today, but the overall foundation of it is on the back of something we call the value office, which means that as you start to execute your roadmap and your journey, you're always looking at positive return on your investment and driving value for your business stakeholders, whether it's through the innovation, GenAI, LLM, a month-end process review, or adding different components to your architecture. Back to you, Matt. Oh, wait.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting a little short on time here, so maybe we'll just go through these quickly here. I think maybe more as a recap. So Darcy, I'll go if you have anything, just jump in.
Yeah.
This is right off of where Oracle and JDE is talking about where AI is coming in. And we've touched on some of these. It covers a lot of different layers here: infrastructure layer, data layer, and then a services layer. And this is a bit of a summary of the chart that we used a couple slides ago, really just highlighting the different levels. And all of what we have here is available to JD Edwards customers. You don't need to switch ERPs to get access to any of this, which is great. And so here again, just some of the things that you as a JDE customer can have access to. This kind of builds on the last one there. Um, OCI services to leverage and build machine learning. We touched on that with the LLM, and things like that. Integrate applications, and start to get where embedded AI capabilities, that very top layer of the Oracle AI, JD Edwards AI slide, where in the Fusion applications, it's just embedded in there. And by plugging into those, now your data, your JD Edwards data can take advantage of some of that, right? Some more technical ones just around the 23 AI vector search by running on Oracle database, and access to that OCI supercluster technology. So if you've got your own in-house AI group, this is a way that you can just hook up your JDE data through the OCI supercluster. Now your group can start to build and train your own models along the way there. Is just an example of how the JDE Orchestrator, one of the digital platform tools that the JDE product development group is really working in a lot of detail on, and how you hook this up to OCI AI services to build something. So this is really the mesh of a couple of different options for you along the way. And then I'll leave us with this, really recognizing that we are at time. Bit of that roadmap again, right? So first step, get JD Edwards on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. You start to get access to a ton of the rest of that that fabric that JD Edwards and Oracle are working together on to deliver. Connect your JD Edwards to an EPM tool, Oracle EPM. Great product, lots of AI embedded into it, and it really does things that you cannot do in JDE, and talks nicely both ways: forecasting, budgeting, consolidations. Working in that tool can be great for your financial leadership. And then what are some of the other Oracle Cloud apps, the Fusion apps that are out there that make sense to start dipping your toe in? Is it supply chain? Is it human capital management? Is it customer experience? All of those things play really, really well with JDE. And so options for you there, right? And keeping sort of that core in your JDE system. And if you go along this journey, take these actions, that final step, like Darcy said a couple minutes ago, is going to be that much easier. We're not saying easy. We're not ready for easy button yet, but easier than trying to do all three of these things plus your financial applications all in one shot. So we'll leave it there. I'll put this up. Marcel, I see you came back. I don't know if there are any questions. I've got time to stay and answer some questions. Send us an email, book a call, but otherwise we'll hang out for a bit. I don't know if there are questions, but we'll take them if there are.
Thanks, Matt, and thank you, Darcy. Yeah, no, I don't see any questions in the chat. But thank you everybody for joining us today. As I mentioned earlier, I'll be sending out an email with the recording. And if you have any questions, please feel free to respond to my email with those and we will address them. And as a thank you for completing our survey, you will receive a Starbucks gift card as a token of our appreciation. In the meantime, feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn, and we hope to see you at our next webinar. Thanks again and have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Darcy.
Thanks, Matt.